Daez podcast.
Thanks, Sid, for joining the pod. And you're just talking before we hit the record button. Like
Yeah.
you're living in El Nido, and you said that you were so scared to take that leap of faith, but fast track to like years later, it's one of the best decisions of your life. Like maybe you can share your insights from your journey so far.
Yeah. But maybe I can start off by sharing the journey from the start, and
Please, please.
I think where I am now with my family. So I have three kids, and Kat, my wife. And as mentioned while we were talking offline, is that we've been in El Nido for 2 years. We're on our third year. And it's season three, especially for the kids who found a great school. So everything happened during the pandemic. I mean, a lot of things happened. Everyone was obviously affected by this. Um, it's just really, just varying effects on people. For me, it was really significant. Extremely significant, and it did help me get to this point. um just to share, prior to the lockdown, I was going through a lot. I was going through depression, and it's funny, Nick, that people think and see me as, hey, seems like your life is okay. Job, career, family, but sometimes that's these are the given, and when people ask me, hey, you have, beautiful kids, a beautiful family, ganun, parang what's there not to be happy about?
Mhm,
And we all have our journeys, and there are a lot of struggles inside. Most of these are deeply rooted from childhood, which I don't want to delve into.
mhm.
But what was really, I was just unhappy. I spiraled into depression, and believe it or not, pare, it just manifested in all these physical things around me. Things just kept breaking down.
Wow.
Pare, I mean, seriously, like, the cars were all in the shop. The plumbing in the townhouse got busted. I crashed the drone in a shoot. Um, I borrowed my friend's car so I could just bring my family to La Union because I just wanted to escape the city. It's just I was really was fed up with everything. And then the car just got hit by a car, hit and run. I mean, the
Wow.
pare dami, sobrang dami. And and it was really up to, I was there, tipping point was this, it's not really doing well. And then until the lockdown happened, and we escaped Manila and went to Baler. Why Baler? It was just really a random thing. When we left Manila a day before the lockdown, um, we were deciding. We went to Clark, and then we decided, where do we go? Do we go, you know, west? Do we go east, La Union, or Baler? And we decided to go Baler because we felt during that time that it was, more isolated. And of course it was because it was farther.
Sure.
It wasn't as accessible as La Union, and we wanted to stay by the beach. And we were expecting only to stay there for a week at the most. We brought 2 weeks worth of clothes, packed everything in the van. I was on my motorcycle because told my wife, "Look, I still had work." I mean, imagine all these things. The city is locking down. all the provinces are locking down. All I could think of was work. Just need to go back. That's why I need to take my motorcycle just in case I need to go to Manila. Then I'll ride. Anyway, to make a long story short, we stayed there. We were expecting to stay there for 1 week, turned into 2 weeks, a month, 2 and 3 months, and then until yeah, we realized it was already 9 months na kami lang yung tao doon. For a
Wow.
while, we shared the resort with a family. Uh, so we really had fun with their son, and we became close during those times. But they left early, and it was just us in that resort. It was well, obviously it's the longest for longest vacation we've ever had. Vacation in a resort. But the owners of the resort were very, very accommodating and hospitable. They allowed us to stay there.
But like
So,
that experience must have been like very nourishing, Ren, right?
bro,
Being
it
in
was
nature.
nourishing. It was life changing. I mean, if we went to Baler and stayed there for 9 months, and you know, the pandemic didn't happen, there would be a different net effect. But with all these things, these factors happening at the same time, and coming from what I mentioned before, was that the unhappiness, right? The I've lost the purpose in life.
Mm.
It all culminated into us deciding eventually that, you know what, I think it's about time that we build a house, because we haven't built a house. I haven't built a house, and that was my frustration. Like I said, yeah, I told myself I'll build a house before I turn 50. You know, and that was fast approaching. That's fast approaching. I was just what, a year lang, and then 50 na. So, or maybe no, I was 48 that time. So yun, and then I looked at Palawan because we have a small property at Long Beach, San Vicente. And to those who don't know San Vicente, the most famous long beach is considered the longest white sand beach in the Philippines. We're talking 14 kilometers. And so on 2021, that was my goal. I told Kat that I will fly to El Nido and then ride a motorcycle together with my best friend Derek, who accompanied me, and we went to San Vicente. And when I saw it, was beautiful, but you know, you know, even if it's so beautiful by the beach, and but I felt parang there's something missing. Parang hindi lang nag-resonate sa akin yung place. And I said, this is not the place. And we rode back to El Nido, and I stayed one night at Seda because my best friend stayed there during the New Year with his family. And that experience, I said, what? I didn't know El Nido was like this, because we all had our impression that El Nido is about the El Nido resorts, Lagen, Minolok, and we've been there, me and my wife. But I never realized that there's a community in El Nido like this. There are places like Leo Estate. There are places like, if you go to town, if you go up to Nakpan and Duli, and it's just amazing. The El Nido inland. And to make a long story short, I got hooked. I reported to my wife, and after 2 weeks, we were back in El Nido, stayed at Seda with the kids, and then that's it. I was on the hunt. I got the approval of Kat, and then I never stopped. I was like so hyper focused. I will find a property. So the next time I went there, I brought na my motorcycle. Wala pang property. I brought my motorcycle to El Nido. Talagang sigurado na eh. This
You just
motorcycle
leave.
will not leave the island and I will look, and I will use my motorcycle and look. And yeah, and then that's how it led us to this. And we built the house late 2021. It was finished in 7 months. We were lucky because our contractor and the workers didn't have any major projects during that time because it was at the tail end of the pandemic. And we were lucky because all the resources were funneled to creating the house. And yeah, and happy to report that I was able to build the house before I turned 50. But there were a lot of doubts. We pulled the trigger. There was no school, Nick. There was no school. We didn't know that there was a school being, being put up by David Esteban and Donna, who got stuck there. Excuse me, in El Nido during the pandemic with Carmen, their daughter. So it was just really for me destiny. You know,
Yeah.
but we were expecting to just homeschool the kids. Kasi sanay naman tayo. I mean, since 2020, 'di ba? All the kids were homeschooled. So we were ready for that until we found out midway through the build that Earth School was going to open on the year that we are moving in. As in exacto, Nick. As in sobra, pare. I
Really
mean,
aligned.
that was the first major alignment because for me, the education for the kids and good education, an international school with different non-traditional methods. It really is. These are answered prayers. I'm not religious. I'm not. I won't even say that I'm spiritual. But you know what? Pare, everything just fell into place. Um, these all these doubts and all these fears. Parang seriously, man. I mean, if you think about it, I was just really out of a selfish need to escape the city because I couldn't handle the stress. I couldn't handle the pressure. I'm sick and tired of the rat race. Diba? Parang I just want to leave the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing here for me, man. It doesn't make me happy anymore. But I had to uproot my wife, my kids, especially my daughter, who is now 16 and she was 13 that time. And she's the eldest, and she developed deeper relationships with her friends in a Waldorf school. So, yun yung mga risks, But all these fears, just after 2 years living here in El Lido, it was just really a dream come true. I mean, I'm just really living in paradise, and I enjoy it with my family.
That's amazing, man. That's really inspiring because I have a lot of conversations with strangers and friends, and they ask me like, how can you leave your home, quote unquote home, Manila, and just leave all your comforts behind? But then I always tell them that it's scary at first, but once you take that leap of faith and you try something and you're in a place where you're surrounded by nature, you're going to be reminded that this is our natural state. Like we're supposed to be in a place where you can connect with community, where you can be around nature, where you can feel relaxed by just sitting down, taking a drive. And I think that's why like I've been seeing you on social media, and your stories. It's really inspiring because I feel like we're really, I guess, a lot of people, they just put up with their situation. I mean, may trade-offs talaga. Like, like you won't be able to like eat in multiple restaurants like every night. I mean, you will have limited, there will be limitations, but the trade-off is huge in terms of the
Yep,
pros.
I
And
agree. I agree
you
with that.
mentioned the Earth School. Luckily, when we went to El Nido, they were it wasn't being built yet, but the community was there. I met Donna. I met, Carla introduced me to some of the people there as well. And there's just something about community in places like El Nido and Siargao where we went as well, wherein they really want to get to know you. They want to actually have a relationship with you. And I'm curious, like, how has that been, that sense of community there in El Nido, and how it's really, I guess, changed your outlook, like your perspective on life with your family.
But when I would tell people that, you know, for me, the natural beauty of El Nido or any place, even if it's like, you know, beautiful in its like surroundings, parang for me it's not really important. That's icing on the cake. A community is a good community. You know, it's a beauty of a place is dependent on the community. You know, um because for me it's important kasi for us to be able to socialize, and I think that's a very important part of our lives, and you have that support of like-minded people, um and you're all in this together, you know what I mean? It's a it's
Yeah.
different when you're when you when you know you grew up in Manila, was born in Manila, and lived almost, you know, half, like most of my half a century in Manila, almost, 'di ba? In the city. Parang it's, and then there are of course a huge community, different communities within, but it's different eh. Kasi parang this one is lahat kayo parang, you know, a lot of these people, some Filipinos, some foreigners, majority are foreigners actually. Parang traveled from all over the world and culminate and just gather in this place. And there's already a commonality to that, to the story,
Mm.
you know. And and for me, I think that alone is already a a a bond. There's already a bond. It strengthens the bond. And what more when our kids go to the same school, you know. And I basically just my life revolves at Leo where the school is and the house, you know. I mean, you know, El Nido is like funny kasi parang, di ba, dito sa area namin sa Villa Libertad in near Leo, near the airport, that's where the families go to. If you want to party, go to town. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
If I have guests, oh, tara, let's go. You know, but I rarely go unless I'm bringing people out. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to town. It's just,
yeah, yeah,
it's not my thing, you know. But you know, it's just really the community is just for me a huge factor on why we decided to build, why we are staying, and this is our home, forever home. You know, we're not here just, we're not transient, we're not here just for, you know, just for a few years and then off we go to another. For us, this is where we will grow old. At least for me and my wife. The kids obviously will study either in Manila or abroad. We don't know. I don't want to think about it, pero
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I have a 16-year-old, and we know that it's just a few years down the road. And when she decides to leave, obviously leave El Nido, and then perhaps maybe leave the country.
yeah,
So yeah, the community is really important. And I love building communities. You know, I think I have this knack for creating communities, even just like small communities. Like I was one of the co-founders of the El Nido Creatives, and basically just I just wanted to gather the creative people here in El Nido, filmmakers, artists, drone pilots, cinematographers, directors, writers. It's just really a good, also like a resource. Well, even underwater photographers, nature photographers. It's just really a nice culmination of there's rich talent here in El Nido, which is just untapped. And I want to gather them and just basically just uplift the creative groups here in El Nido, the creative people here in El Nido. And so far, I think we've been doing well. You know, there are a few plans, and and if there are visitors from Manila, and there are a lot, and I do ask. friends who are in the creative field if they can give a talk. It's just like a nice roundtable discussion with our group and just sharing what they know. And I think that's really the most important thing. It's just empowering communities. And then we'll see where it leads, you know. Like now we also have a outdoor club. It's just really we're into cycling now, hiking, kayaking. I mean, we're very lucky because we're not we understand that we are in a place where there's so many things to do. Like on a gravel bike, like if you're in Manila, para you have to drive all the way to I don't know where just to find good fire roads. And here, I just bike the backyard and dyan na yung dirt road, di ba? Um, and there's so much to do, and it's a shame if we don't go out there and get some sun and enjoy what El Nido has to offer, which is a lot.
Yeah, you have your own playground, and it's it's inspiring in itself. About like you see, I mean, I saw that you do bird watching, you're motorcycling, you're biking.
Yeah,
It's all like, I mean, it all comes together. And I guess with, you're a filmmaker. You direct commercials, content.
yeah.
But I've always been curious about, because you also do your own content. You shoot for fun, you edit for fun. Like through the years, how has that evolved for you? Like
That's
the
actually a
actual
good question.
work. Yeah, the actual work and work that is just for passion, for fun.
That's actually a good question, man. And I've had like a similar talks with friends, and them asking me precisely the same question. Parang, what do you think of how do you compare? So let's start first with my career. I that's where um that's really my profession is I'm a brand filmmaker. It used to be called TV commercial director, and I decided to reinvent and at least create that category, which is a brand filmmaker, because it sounds um, more period specific as opposed to TV. Nobody watches TV
Yeah.
and commercials. It's just really there's so much negative or stigma connected to that word. When you say commercialism, it's just opposite of art. But I can discuss that later because I have a few issues about the commercial in art, if there is art in what I do. Um, so but you have to understand, I've been doing this for 23 years, and prior to that, I worked in an ad agency for Macan, and I studied advertising in college. So like half of my life was dedicated to this industry, and it's an industry that I love. You know, now, but there are a few, for me, to be honest, sometimes I feel that when I do this, it is a job, right? That doesn't mean that I am a believer of that product. You understand?
Mm, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I am hired to do this. I'm paid to do it, but I also it's not again, it's not about the money, but it's really I just love the craft of creating these brand films. But that doesn't necessarily mean if you hire me to shoot, let's say, a certain product, that doesn't mean I use it, right? But I put my heart into it. Now, as a as a brand filmmaker living in El Nido, and I am grateful and blessed to have these sponsorship deals with brands, whether small. I mean, I don't get paid a lot for creating content for example, for a little gadget.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't quantify it as such. But why do I still do it? Because number one, because I believe in the product. I rarely do reviews, to be honest. what I do most of the time is unboxing, because there's also a moral dilemma. Because if a product was given to you and then you just do a review about it and you're not transparent, then there's already
Mm,
bias, right?
true.
And that's always a problem with brand, or yeah, creators, 'di ba? So ako, I just unbox it, just show them what the features are. And there are no claims. It's just really just straight to the point. But at the same time, if and I'm sure you've seen a few of the videos, it's called Destination Unbox. Just want to add a little flavor to it. So I'm also promoting El Nido, and I love promoting El Nido. If I could be a brand ambassador of El Nido, pare, I would. And I am doing exactly that because I love promoting El Nido. But more than anything, the deeper and the bigger picture here is that I am promoting this type of life, that you can't just be stuck in the city. I have nothing against that. But then there will always be an alternative life outside. But we can discuss that later. But going back to the brand films, the content that I do is that because I believe in the product. If I can't say anything good about the product, then why review it? Why shoot a video about it? I mean, there's no point. And let's face it, advertising, or TV commercials, there's always a polish. There'll always be you're adding a buff to that patina. You know what I mean? There'll always be a gloss over in a product. And I'm not sure if this is a political way of saying it, but I mean, let's all be real, but there'll always be parang there's a lot of false advertising out there,
For
right?
sure.
But this time it's different for me when I do content. I don't get paid for it. Rarely do I get paid for it. I don't have a massive following, but I enjoy unboxing. I enjoy using these things because I really use it. Alam mo yun? And
Yeah,
I'm proud
yeah,
of it. And that's where the authenticity comes in, because it's something that I really use, and it's something that I really believe in. And I think that is really the antithesis of advertising, the job that I do, as opposed to the content and the brand film that I create because of the product that I truly believe in. And it's not because I was paid big. That's why I'm doing this film. It's just really, I just love doing it. For example, CF Moto, man, seriously, man. I mean, I can't think of any vehicle that is perfect for El Nido, in the province. And
pretty
I
cool. I've
use
been
it,
seeing your content.
yeah, and I use it every day, you know. Whether it be motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs, it's just for me, I really use them and I love it. And it really fits the lifestyle here in the province. So these are the things that I really enjoy doing. And that's exactly the difference between brand film, or the job that I do, and content. The problem is sometimes, and I think you know this, when you get a brand deal for content, and there's a saying, better done than perfect. but as a
Yeah. Hmm.
but as a brand filmmaker, working with brands, and you're operating within a 30-second timeline, you're telling a story and you're selling a product. You can't help but be always striving for perfection, but sometimes you just have to compromise. And that's what I'm trying to learn. That, look, Sid, this isn't like you know this isn't like a commercial that you usually create when dealing with big huge clients. um just be authentic. And I think that's also one of the things that I preach, is that it's so easy to make things so look good on film now. But it's the more important thing is how to make it more authentic. Up to this point, I'm still trying to find my voice. Especially, I hate going in front of camera. Like, hi, yeah, this is Is the Shocks headphones, bone conduction. I hate it. Kaya nga ako parang just voiceover na lang. And now I'm just going without a voiceover. You know, I'm a strong believer of content that is just show more, say less. You know, just learn to just shut up and just show. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Much
You were
better pa minsan.
you posted something, reposted something recently on Facebook about your childhood when you were doodling, drawing a lot. And I'm curious, like now, like filmmaking is your medium, but like drawing, doodling, painting, are there other mediums that interest you? Or I guess any artistic pursuits that
Yeah.
you feel the need to scratch?
Yeah. But before I delve into the other mediums that I'm interested in, I mean that you read that post
I
in
saw the
Facebook.
post, yeah.
Yeah. I mean that was just really for me it cuts deep because it's really a story of my life. And it's just basically about just sharing. I'm not afraid of sharing, that these are the challenges that I grew up in and I grew up with. All these insecurities when you're a kid, you're trying to be cool. And tas parang you get insecure, you're thrust in a good school na walang uniform. All you have to do is, man, I want like Sperry topsiders, but you can't afford Sperry. Alam mo yun? So it really kind of messed up with your mind growing up, and of course, there's so many factors that led to that. But really, the thing that was my salvation, which I wrote in that post, is that's really that my self worth was more into how good I was at drawing, because that really is the core and the basic skill that I had when I was a kid. I was really into drawing. I would draw every day. And I'm not academically, I'm not a straight A student, far from it. But when you ask me to draw something, pare, I'll draw it. At one point I was drawing my own storyboard when I was a director na. And that really is my focus, and it turned into design, graphic design, um and the medium that I because I took up fine arts, although it's advertising. I'm really exposed to that. And I used to do watercolor. I used to dabble into oil painting before, but never really pursued it. But it's really pen and ink and pencil. That was really my forte. I need a lot of practice now because we're so, number one, we're so attached to everything digital that
Yeah.
sometimes I just miss the, just touching paper and just just using a pencil, or just paint something. And I think that is a natural transition, or evolution for me, I feel. you know um because let's be honest, I've been in this industry for so long. I'm not going to retire soon, but you know there are other things that I want to do, especially when it comes to the arts. And yeah, and it for me it's a challenge. But if I just, like anything that I get myself into, I always um hyper focus on one thing, whether it be a sport, a hobby, or a pursuit of something. um I just get obsessed, and I want to do and want to be the best at it all the time. And I think that's really the natural progression for me here, especially in El Nido. There's so much inspiration around me. I'm closer to nature. um, I mean, everything's there, guiding you to go back to your roots, which is the art, which is the physical, the tactile way of creating something with your hands. And I think that is really, for me, something that I should go back to. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, man. No, I was
Oh,
really curious about that. Like I was going through your that Facebook particular Facebook post, and when I saw that, I was like, wow, he was into drawing, doodling, painting,
yeah.
and I guess
Without that, I don't know.
it was a
I'm
jump
not.
off point. It paved everything, right? I mean, because I guess now, like for me, that's what I'm into. Like I also got into production like a decade ago. I mean, still in it a bit, but like I guess the passion is really in like painting, drawing. For some reason, there's something about I guess there's like it's great working with teams, collaborating with other people, but there's something really intimate about you just working on a sketch, working on a painting by yourself, and letting, I guess, instead of, there's something beautiful about not having anything in mind at first, then it completely transforms into something unexpected. And I really find that really interesting compared to yun nga, yung with advertising, it's you gotta know exactly what the shot's gonna be. You
Yeah,
have to make sure you're getting approvals from everyone that
yeah,
it's what they want and what you want. And I guess sometimes, and I'm sure you feel this when there's that contrast because you're so steeped in nature, but you also go in and out of the city. Parang there's this pushing and pulling of wanting, oh, parang I want, you said something tactile, like something you can really just use your hand with and express. But then there's also that part of you that's also that wants to control it, that wants to create something that's beautiful per se, right? And it's interesting, like like seeing your body of work and also hearing your journey, like, and you mentioned the educational system, rin, and I have a lot of, I guess, not naman beef, but like I have a lot of opinions about that in terms of like how I think we went to similar educational
yeah,
systems,
bro.
and I
Anong school
think
ka ba?
Ateneo.
Well, same, same here.
So I mean, it has
Mm.
its pros, like for me, the philosophy, the liberal arts, I think that was great. But I feel like, seeing then, I saw how the Earth School's running. I've seen how Waldorf schools, teach kids and even homeschoolers. Like there's really a limitation, parang in terms of your potential as a human being. And also as being open-minded, being able to take risks. I feel like a lot of the systems now really box you. And I'm really curious, like how you, I guess, how this has cultivated your mind, because you send your kids to a progressive school
Yeah.
and you seem to believe that um there's the advantages of that are profound compared to just following the bandwagon. Now, okay, just go to a good school, quote unquote.
I mean, when we became a first-time parents, that was back in 2008. Parang we never really, I mean, I personally, as mentioned before, never really excelled in school. But I was lucky that my parents helped me hone my skill. Even though my dad is completely the opposite of me in the sense that he was into the academe. He was he's a very smart guy. He's a very intelligent guy. Bordering on genius. I mean, he's a CPA lawyer. He topped the bar exam. He's top two. Back in 1969, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
And so you have to understand there's also a lot of pressure from coming from a father who is like that. My mom is more on the artistic side, but he was really into the, you know, education. That's really the driving force behind everything, and obviously for him and most parents with that type of background, that it always ang ano is that the key to success is good education, right? Then good education sometimes as a parent is translated to a good school, and these good schools, how do you define good? Because it is number one, a popular school, number two, because it's where everyone goes to. It has a deep, long history in education. Um, yeah, pero I agree with you, man. I mean, there will always be an alternative way of doing things. And this is also to the same point that there will always be an alternative life for us to live, right? There will always be a different life out there that we should explore. And that's what we did. We explored other educational uh institutions. You know, like for example, my daughters went to Sisidlan, a Waldorf-based school, and it really unlocked something in her. I mean, I have to say that we're so um, lucky and thankful and grateful that she got to experience that type of schooling, and that really also helped her prepare for life here in Elido. You know, my son studied at a an international school in Manila, and they're actually really good as well. I mean, it's such a more organized, but I would say more progressive, which I really like. But then again, there really is education is sometimes has become it's not a cookie cutter solution or like one size fits all. All kids are so different, and you can't just. I mean, with a ratio of one teacher to what 50 kids, it's hard. I mean,
Good.
there will be compromises. Merong will fall through the cracks, right? Um, so it's for me the more important thing is to explore other ways of education, and that's what we did. And you know what, um there's always uncertainty in everything, but I mean, I'm a big believer that we take risks in everything, and just follow our gut. And that's what we felt when we heard about it, when we found out about the school, when we listened to David and Donna explaining the main goal of Earth School, and how and just by these people, and how, and after that, we believe in them and their dream and their vision, and what they're trying to do for the community and for the kids. And pare ako, for me, I will we just went all in, hook, line, and sinker, without any doubt that this is the best education for our kids. When I say that, because we've tried different schools na, di ba? Even homeschooling our kids, and for me, this is like a perfect blend of education where there's no need for homework. But I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
man, kids go to school, and then they need a life. They're kids. They need to play. And then they would go home and um, study again or go to a shooter. But the thing is that, but again, we are different. Parents are different. Kids are different. Different priorities. Our priority, communicat, is not academic excellence. It's about kids being happy, kids finding their calling, and if they're creative, then we will support them. My daughter loves to play the cello. She's planning to take up music, you know and yeah, we support her. And for me, that's really the ultimate goal, for a child to discover that very thing that she can honestly say that she does best. And I think that's for me. And education is basically a way forward for them to find what they really want. And I think so far they are given the best of education. It's not just about, I mean, the it's not about just sustainability and all of these things. It's really a mixture. There's a mix of technology, a lot of science, a lot of math, which is a subject that I I really despise. Kaya
Same,
nga
same.
kaya nga ako naging director pare. Wala akong alam sa math eh. Um, but yeah, for me, I think that um, education is, I believe, at least in the traditional sense, is overrated. Um, and we have to break out of that mold. And that's the same belief that, that really brought us to where we are now here in the province in El Nido, just leaving everything behind because there is an alternative life and there is always an alternative to education for our kids.
Yeah, that's really that's such a that's a profound thing, like sharing that. And I feel like when hearing you talk about being in a traditional school system and versus your kids being in a progressive school system, in a way, it's like you're also reparenting yourself. Diba? Like, I mean, imagine you just accepting the societal norm wherein, oh, let's just do the homework, because we got to do that, study for the test, make sure you get the ace, just because society's following mostly that kind of, I guess, direction. And it's it's really very affirming to hear that because like with my partner's kid, like the pressure is intense. Like with family and friends, they usually what the first question they'll ask is, "Oh, is he in school? Is he what school is he in?" And then
Yeah.
sometimes you don't want to engage, and you'll just say, "Yeah, he's in school," or then we'll say, "Oh, he's homeschooled." But then when I see our kid, and he's so into like reading like books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. He's like reading The Adventures of Tintin. I'm like, and it's not like we forced him. We just the books were around. He started reading them, and now like he does Minecraft and he reads those books for fun, and
Oh
it's
my
an
God.
exciting thing to
Minecraft.
see, diba? Parang
Yeah,
I mean, like
exactly.
it's a very unique contrast, but it's so easy to call him out and say, "Don't play video games. You should study." But like, I guess, and I saw something like a video before wherein like the guy was saying like whatever your kid's age is right now, the way you respond to him is how you were responding as a kid at that age. And I'm like, wow, maybe that's why I get triggered with this certain situation when I'm with, my kid. And then parang it's like, but you can change that narrative. Like you don't need to be, you know, following that strict, very authoritative, I guess, parenting style. Look at him as a human being, and like allow him to discover instead of, oh, you gotta be this, you gotta be that. This is the pathway to success. And it's very refreshing to hear this. Like thank you for sharing that. And I'm really, it's very inspiring to be able to hear stories like this, especially with parenting and with kids. And I guess like with you now, you're in this journey, and I guess like with your self talk, it seems to be constantly progressing. Like with what you've mentioned about art and lifestyle, like like down the line, like what are you excited for? I mean, I know that your life is already exciting, but what do you look forward to, like in the years to come?
If if you quantify exciting to the number of accidents that I've been in, yeah, I think your my life is exciting. Um, I have a lot of things in the pipeline, and I've always believed that there are, that there are a lot of things that we can't control. And to be honest, I already um uh saw it na. When moving to El Nido, you're like out of sight and out of mind. Will it affect my career as a brand filmmaker? you know. And yes, it did, like number of projects were affected, and the fact that, just flying in and out, you know. But you know what? I'm not really worried about that because I always believe that, there's always a silver lining to these challenges. And this is real, no? Parang ako, for me, parang if there will always be an opportunity for you to grow and to evolve because the opportunities are there. You just have to grab the reins. Pare, alam mo yun, and just do it. Um, and I think the lesson here for me is that, you can't just depend on one thing. And especially for me, my goal now really is I don't want to depend on Manila and flying to the city for work. I will create the work where I am now because ultimately the goal is to be self-sufficient just where I am now here in El Nido, which is home. Um, I love flying to the city. You're scratching the city itch because this is what in my head. Every time I peer out of the window of an airplane from El Nido and going to the city is I'm grateful when I see the city from above. I'm grateful because I have work waiting for me here. I have a shoot. And every time I go fly home and then look out of the window and see the beautiful islands, blue sea, and forests, and I feel grateful because I call this my home. And I live within these two worlds. And I don't know how long this life will continue, this type of life. Um but I'm grateful. I mean, if there's just one job in a month, I'm fine, you know. And that doesn't stop me from giving it all. Advertising is just really like what you said, diba? Parang it's really a hard industry. It's really a very difficult industry, and you really have to excel, and or else you'll be eaten alive.
Yeah.
And the same thing. There's so many young filmmakers now, and I can't compete with the young ones. They're really good. The only thing that's going for me is that I have experience, and I think experience is currency. Because right now there will be a lot of, and I predict with the advent of AI, and does it scare me? It's unsettling sometimes, but I am a firm believer of just using technology to make our lives better, and ensuring that that it will be just a tool, right? But there will be a lot of charlatans with the advent of AI, especially in filmmaking, advertising. But you know what? I don't know if AI is the same as the whole digital film revolution, wherein everyone had access to cameras. Not like before when I started back in 2001. I had to learn film. You know, you're using film cameras.
Yeah.
You're like, you have your producer breathing down your neck and reminding you only have like 4 rolls of film to finish this commercial. You don't have the luxury of data in hard drives, you know. But I miss that discipline. But were we the old timers who were started out shooting film back in the day, 20 decades ago, and then now you're at the crossroads, 2007, when the Red One digital camera came out, and then all the DSLRs and even phones now are so powerful. We can actually shoot beautiful um video on it. Parang, of course, we were a bit, wow, okay, this you're just opening the floodgates. But
Yeah.
eventually, you'll still see who is good, and who is bad. And hopefully AI, but I am a bit wary in a way because it's not just a tool. This is different. This is a different thing because back in the day, whether it is a tool, whether you're using film or digital cameras, it's just a tool. It won't think for you. AI is different. It actually can think very, very powerfully, logically, um, create ideas for you. So this will change everything. This will change and affect every aspect of the industry, not just in our industry, in almost everything. So yeah, I really don't know what will happen because of that. But for me as a filmmaker who lives in the province, I love to call myself as a prom direct. I'm from the province, I'm a director, and but I still love using these things and trying to learn how we can harness this power. Um, and yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe eventually I'll be coming out with AI films and see. But for me, nothing will trump human creativity. And I think that's the most important thing.
No, I think you're. I was actually gonna ask you about your thoughts about AI because it's being used. We're using it already. People are. I've heard of lawyers like chat GPTing. Their
Yeah.
their presentations. Like creatives making decks from chat GPT, and then we haven't even got it. We haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg with it creating like films and songs, and it's an interesting time to be in. It is unsettling is the word. Unsettling because it's like, where does that put us? But I think personally it's, I guess, going to show us that, bring us back to the roots, yeah. Because I mean, like, with things that are tactile, like you said, like round table discussions, painting, being in the outdoors, because you can't keep up with that, then what do you do? Like, I guess, that's the thing. It's like a double-edged sword. Parang you're being forced to disconnect in a way, but to connect in a more intimate way. And I feel
Yeah.
like we have no idea what's going to happen in just 5 years. It's not like before, wherein the jumps were a bit, medyo mabagal, but
Bro,
now
trust
quantum
me, not
leaps.
not in 5 years. Less than that. Less than that. It's now. It's happening now. Like what you said, music, you can compose music, your own lyrics in seconds. You can create an image. And for me, for filmmaking, it took me so long to come up with visual pegs, excuse me, like looking for stock images, alam mo yun? And now you just keystrokes away and you get specifics, like a man in a red shirt standing in the middle of the room looking at the camera, 35 millimeter cinematic lighting, backlight, colored lighting, um, in a dark alleyway, and boom, you get that exact thing. And from that image, whether you use Dali or Midjourney, you go to Runway. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but a Runway Gen 3 is just amazing. And this is just one of the video tools that you can use. But from that, the image, you can animate it. You just pop in that image, upload it, and then just direct AI camera moving from left to right. Um, it's amazing how things have progressed in a rapid pace. Since I remember, pare, like my first storyboard using AI, using DAL-E at its infancy, was already mind blowing. As in, sobra. I was really, I was really blown away, and it was just really so. primitive, but it just captured it. It was still in a square format, na low res. And then, man, pare, in a span of a year, and then now hyper speed. The jump is exponential. Um, and it's crazy. Especially for a filmmaker like me, and then seeing AI video. Um, bro, there's this video just matag kailan ba 'to? Matagal na 'to, eh, yung si, who's this actor? Si Will Smith eating spaghetti, and when Runway was at its early stages, when they animated him eating spaghetti, it was just really weird, but there's AI hallucinations. And now it's so it's realistic, you know. Um so yeah, it's unsettling, but at the same time, we really don't know what it will lead to. But in the creative field, at least the a field which I am part of, it's a concern, because there will be jobs that obviously will be affected by it. But I do believe that we have to adapt, and we have to there's no stopping this wave. It's
No stopping.
impossible. You cannot
Impossible.
stop it. There's no stopping it. It's either you sink or swim. And what can you do, and how to integrate that within your workflow, within your art, within your craft. But my problem really is for the younger generation. Kasi pare, that's now for me. If I use I have no need to prove to people that, hey, I know I know how film works. I know that's my language, you know. um and I know where to put, let's say, hey, you know what, this is the mood that I want to create, and this is the lighting that I want to go for. But it's not just like a person behind a monitor and then typing away like a prompt engineer, um and just letting AI do its thing. So, but how will you differentiate that? How will you differentiate that someone behind the wheel is a professional filmmaker, or um, a kid in a basement who just learned how to type, you know? And but where it's a distinction. So I guess this will only push creative people like us, filmmakers, writers, artists, designers, to really, like what you said, go back to the basics, go back to the roots, because I think there will be greater appreciation for that, greater appreciation for film, greater appreciation for all these things that you can touch, things that you can create using your hands. What will not go would be things that you can create using your hands, something that's tactile, something that you can create. Even though AI have and will encroach into so many branches of art, but nothing will beat human creativity. And I really do believe that. So yeah, ang problem lang talaga is really on the newer generation. AI will create a lot of charlatans, a lot of uh fakers.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time though that they'll be exposed. Alam mo 'yun?
Yeah.
Madali lang 'yan, eh, because you give the same power to same tools to the same to these people. You'll still see who's good and who's bad.
Yeah, that's really it's the intention run, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
like young, the younger generations, they're gonna want that success right away. They're gonna want fame. But I guess the people with experience, people like you, Ren, you understand that journey. Like nothing ever really comes easy, but it's important. The struggles are important. Taking risks, living a different way, and your life story so far is a testament to that, right? Taking
Yeah,
leaps of faith.
bro, I really believe in that. You know, there was just speaking of risks, let's talk about risks. Uh I believe that taking risks is a huge part of our evolution as human beings. You know, you can't always be on the safe side. Can't always be in the safe zone all the time. You have to take risks, calculated ones. As you grow older, it will be more calculated. But you also have to be sure about yourself. It's about self-confidence din eh. You know, I mean, you have to be, alam mo yung parang, oh, sige, yeah, I'll follow my gut. And you believe in yourself that, okay, this is the best decision. Uh, right? You'll never know until you try it. And I saw this post, and this really, for me, resonated uh, deeply. It was just a post of Sir Richard Branson's Instagram. He got into an accident, a cycling accident, and he, was smiling with his friend. Both of them crashed with dami niyang sugat, and he said something like, "A life without risks isn't a life well lived." You know, and I do believe that. I'm not saying just go out there and be reckless and get a skateboard like I did. But you know what? There will always be learnings from all these things, and we just have to learn from it. Um, I'm permanently disabled, right? My because of that skateboard accident. I can no longer extend my arm, or I can't flex it. So the range of motion is limited. And I think it's, for me, I mean, it had to happen. I'm still grateful. I can still do the things that I love doing. I can still ride my bike. I can ride a motorcycle. I can drive my ATVs. I can hug my kids. I can swim. I can run. I can do so many. I can draw. I can still write. There's so many things. Nothing really stopped me from. This didn't really stop me from just going on with my life. But the more important thing is that really up here in the head, right? Um, but with that type of thinking, it has to be. You have to also have the maturity to deal with the consequences, di ba? So parang it's so easy to say take risks, di ba? But you're not mentally fit to handle the consequences if it all goes awry, 'di ba?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
aside from that, you should have mental fortitude. It's easy to say, but once you're there, I mean, yeah, it's a different thing and how you handle the consequences if it fails. But in life, generally speaking, pare, I love taking risks. I take risks. Um, and I just go out there and just do it because there is the safe space gives you false security, and it will just you'll create a spiral of just doing nothing. And for me, just taking risks and getting out of that spiral um is for me the the thing that one should, like what Richard Branson said, you know, that's how you live life, bro. That's a life well
Yeah.
lived if you take risks.
Yeah. No,
Now,
I
yeah,
totally
di
agree
ba?
with that.
I mean, you're always taking risks, right?
I mean,
Trying,
it's but
di ba?
what you said is really like the mind. Parang like it's easy to say it and easy to do it, but when the hardships kick in, how do you deal with that? How do you roll with the punches, right? But I think like one of the big things that I always remind myself is that it sounds it's some people they get taken aback when they hear this, but it's the truth though. No one's getting out of here alive. Like we are running out of time. Knowing that, how do you want to live your life? I think that's for me like, and I think I see that even more with um with my kid. You know, like you see him grow it right fast, and it's like wow, like in a blink of an eye, he will be a teenager, he will
Yep.
be a parent, and I
Yep.
will be a grandparent, and I will no
Yeah.
longer be here. And I think for me that's a driving force. Like live hard na, live well. You know, don't worry na, because it's pointless. Because you think you have we have intentions and we think we have control, but all we can really do is just act, set things in motion, and trust that like life will support us. But your life is a testament that life has been supporting you. And I think for a lot of people who are aspiring to live authentic lives and rich lives, like you have to be, you gotta go for it, right? And you have to be strong and not feel like life is punishing you because you took a risk, but it's actually just giving you these building blocks to keep going. And
Yeah. Well said. Well said, Nick. Kasi, um, something that you said kanina, di ba, parang the peace of mind, right? It's really that. It's also mental maturity. I didn't think this way, pare. Even just pre-pandemic. It's not like, I was like this, or at least my point of view or my beliefs or the confidence in decision making, or how I look at things now is really so different from how I was like just years ago. And and for me, I think also it's really the peace of mind. Um, it's about let's talk about that. Ako kasi parang I believe now that, and this is also connected to what I said, that there are things that we can't control, especially what people think of us. Um, I would say that I have evolved into this person, and I really have changed, especially after the pandemic and during the pandemic. I mean, this even the way I work. I'm no longer the same intense director who would just be so in just hot-headed on the set, gets affected by these little things what clients say, or I still do get affected by what clients say or do sometimes, but there are ways of dealing with these things. And the thing is, I don't really react too much to that or what other people say. um, I really don't want to care too much, to be honest. And there's no point for me to even explain to people that, hey, I've changed. You know,
yeah,
there's no need. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't need to try too hard to tell people that it's different now. I've heard a lot of people along the way, especially at work, with how I work. I was like really, like I said, a perfectionist. And I would just really go over time. I didn't care about people's health. But after the pandemic, you just realize that why, you know, that work is more important than health. I don't get it. The priorities obviously have changed, and I'm proud to say that since the pandemic, I've directed. I know, well, that's what 2020. We were the first ones to direct um a brand films, and during that time, our home was Baler, right? We were able to do it. I'm proud of that. And but my point is, parang there will always be parang uh a point in your life that when there is a a challenge or a difficulty, I don't want to be affected by it. I don't want to, and I don't do overtime anymore because I respect people's health. I respect people's time. And this is what we're here to do. I'm proud of that. There were instances, probably about 3 projects that I went overtime because of things that were beyond my control. But I mean, the batting average is definitely 95% better. That's, and for me, the sweetest words a director can say in a shoot would be, it's a wrap, sarap. I want them to go home early to their families, spend time with their families, and healthy and happy, right? And but I mean, my point is, going back, the peace of mind is, but sometimes parang when I hear people talk shit about me, or I hear that clients said this and that about this, or you know um parang sometimes the knee jerk reaction is you react to it, right? Because we're all human, 'di ba? We get hurt. Um pero para as you grow old, um it's just now you're thinking about self-preservation. The more important thing is that, am I going to lose sleep over something that is beyond my control? I can't control someone's thoughts. I can't control what they say. They can say so many things, or they can do so many things that can hurt you mentally. But I'm not going to go lose sleep over that. It's just now, it's just really, I need to preserve my mental state, and that's the more important thing for me. And sometimes you just have to, like, just water off a duck's back, 'di ba? I
Yeah.
don't I don't I don't care too much. It's something for me that I've learned through the years na wala na tayong magagawa, eh. 'Di ba, ganun, eh, right?
And
You
that's a
may have
beautiful
this
thing,
type
right?
of yeah,
Getting
eh,
old and older and realizing
yeah.
you don't need to give a shit. We shouldn't have given a
Exactly.
shit. We shouldn't have,
If
right?
you give a shit about little things, pare, then you're forgetting to live life. It sounds so parang dismissive, eh, 'di ba? Na
Yeah.
parang
Yeah.
dead makasana, but man, bro, it's just there's no point, 'di ba? Um, and how I got to this point is that, aside from just being old, turning 51 next month, is that it's really the life experiences. This is the life that I chose to live. Not perfect, far from it, but damning failures. Too many to mention, man. Um, uh, and people would probably think that, hey, I'm living the best life here in El Nido. There are a lot of challenges. Although these are the things that really make you realize and make you act on things that, hey, you know what, maybe it is an opportunity for me to do this. Maybe the silver lining is just always looking at things from a different perspective, and then you'll find solutions to something that otherwise might seem daunting, you know there will always be, just like the life that we live, there will always be a alternative life. There will always be an alternative education for our kids. There will always be an alternative solution to any problem. You just have to look hard and and
Yeah.
and find
Have
it.
have the courage. And bro,
Yeah.
it's been really refreshing and inspiring having this conversation, man. Like I really hope a lot of people, I guess, feel this energy from you and get inspired, that like to live their lives, it's really that to live the life that they really want to live, not what society tells us, not what our parents tell us, what our friends tell us, just to be really authentic. And I think you really captured that, and I really appreciate the conversation, man. Like
Same here.
it's been it's been great. It's been great. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nick. And That it is actually I like it, you know? I mean, we can go on forever, but
Good, good. Certainly, it's been a great conversation.
I know,
Hopefully, we
man.
can
We can continue this some other time,
meet
'di
up one of
ba?
these days and have a conversation. But it's been
Yeah.
it's been it's very nourishing, man. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. The Nick Daez podcast.